Welcome to Spectrum Sundays. I am Megan Sinisi, Miss Pennsylvania 2021, and the founder of a nonprofit organization for autism titled From a New Perspective. I am also a speech-language pathologist with a master's degree from the University of Missouri.
And I am Francesca D'Alessandro, Miss Thousand Islands of New York, serving my community through AAA appreciation and awareness for autism. I am also a speech-language pathologist with a master's degree from the University at Buffalo.
Everyone deserves to feel accepted and included in every space they walk in. Our series aims to inspire you to advocate for yourself and on behalf of your loved ones, and we are so grateful that you're here with us today. Alexis Wineman is an autism self-advocate who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 11. She now works as a daycare and preschool professional. Alexis enjoys public speaking and held the prestigious title of Miss Montana 2012, where she expanded upon her advocacy work for the autism community. She was also voted as America's Choice in 2013 when she graced the Miss America stage in Las Vegas. So Alexis, thank you so much for spending time to be with us again today. We really enjoyed our prior conversation, and we're really interested to get to know more about your Miss America experience. So we wanted to start off this conversation by asking what it meant to you to be the first openly autistic candidate to compete in the Miss America organization.
It was strange. It was beyond strange. I would like to just reiterate from last time I said, like, I did not expect to win. I would like to reiterate the fact that I really did not expect to win. That whole experience, autism or not, was never expected to happen. Miss Montana also at the time, I don't know if they still do it now, does things very differently because it's a state that doesn't have many people living in it. Everything's so spread out. Montana is very much the hydrogen atom of the United States. It's mostly empty space. It's, you got Missoula, you got Helena, and you got Bozeman and Kalispell. That's where your people are going to be. But it's strange because we didn't have preliminaries. So I was never Miss, cut bank or anything like that. What I did was I drove 9 hours to get to where they were holding the pageant, and they said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Cut bank." Like, "Congratulations, you're Miss Cut Bank." And it was hilarious because it was like 5 Miss Glendives, and I was just like, that must be some weird turf war going on there. But it was very strange just to go through the process of Miss Montana, because I was only like 2 weeks out of graduation. I had just turned 18. I'm a May baby, so I was very young. And I only turned 18. So I also told like my boss, was like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. So I'll be off for the summer, like getting ready for it. Like, don't worry about it." I had to later tell her, like, "Hey, I'm probably not coming back at all." So it was very strange because the whole time I'm looking at these girls like, "Oh, they're so put together," everything like that. I didn't, like, my mom wanted me to sing. I didn't want to sing. I wanted to make people laugh. So I did a monologue about how I like women. It was satires, like, no matter what size a woman is, no matter what number is on the scale, their weight depends on their mood. Which I thought would be funny. It's like, hey, it's like beauty pageant. How funny would it be if I did this? Like, and it was hilarious. Oh man, it did slap. But it was, but the whole time it was like I was not doing it to win. I was having fun with it. I was goofing off. I was giving it 110% because that's just, how we Wyman people do it. But not like, I was like, hey, it'd be cool to make the top 8. There's only 11 people competing. I would be like, oh, it was cool to be the top 8. And like when I made that, I was like, sweet, goal achieved. I don't have to like worry anymore. And then I made it top 5, and I was like, oh, cool. Wow, they're not calling my name in the final. That's weird. And when they called my name, it actually scared me. Not necessarily because, the weight of the crown, I realized it at that. No, that came later. What happened was people from Cut Bank, and by that point, we also did it simultaneously with the Outstanding Teen program as well. And they had been crowned the night before. And there was a girl from Helena who competed and won. And so the Helena people were like, well, we, paid for the whole week to watch these like preliminaries, and then like, let's just hang out with these Cut Bank people. Because we know someone, like we knew Miss Marianne Adams, who runs the Grand Street Theater up in Helena. And so it was like a good get together. We ended up hanging out with some old friends. Well, when I didn't actually hear my name. I heard, and then just thunderous noise. It was terrifying. It was this loud scream. I heard my mom crying. I was like, the wreck's going. So I had my hands up to cover my ears, and then it kind of hit me like, oh, this is a good thing. Like it hit me. And so I just had my hands up here. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do girls in TV do when they win a pageant? And I'm going to cover my nose and mouth. And it culminated in what my brother called my sneeze of surprise. And it was hilarious too, because like my dad was reiterating what was happening in the audience, because he didn't hear my name. He didn't know what was going on. He just saw my mom crying, my sister going absolutely crazy, and he was freaking out. And usually he being a Montana guy, he has a concealed carry. It was just like, something's happening. He didn't have it, but like he instinctively reached up. He's like, oh wait. Like sort of a moment. And he was freaking out. The Helena people were freaking out, because now like their Helena girl, Mo Shea, who's great. She actually was Miss Montana. So she was now my little, and all of this happened at once, and I'm getting a crown, and the poor miss before me, she was a lot shorter than I was, and I had this dress with this slit, and so I'm trying to crouch appropriately, and she's like, you gotta get down. She's smiling, like, hey. Like, meanwhile, she's like, get down. I can't reach to put the thing on. And I was like, I can't. If I do, it's going to be indecent exposure, and they're going to take this crown away immediately. And so the poor her, she had like a hop to put the crown on. So it was all this like hilarious, like almost stupid situation happening, looking back on it. And then like it wasn't until the next morning, like they immediately, of course you guys know, they immediately shove you into interviews and stuff like that. And you're on like public access television, like doing interviews about like, I'm the Miss Montana this year, woohoo. And those interviews were horrible, because I was just like, like, okay, I guess, whatever. I haven't slept. I'm so exhausted. Then those interviews are still online. Like, so that scares me. It was strange, because it didn't hit me until I was on the way back to Cut Bank. I was like, oh no, I'm not prepared whatsoever. Because I was barely prepared for the state competition. I didn't know what was going to happen. And like, you go on a school tour, you promote your like platform. Like I didn't know how to do any of that. And so a lot of what I did at schools was basically what I'm doing with you guys now. I'm off the cuff. Like basically I just started talking, and then I realized no one was shutting me up. And I was like, okay, this is also dangerous.
Well, honestly, I can just say I really appreciate your humor. And I think it's so refreshing, because, I think a lot of, from when I was really deep in my advocacy work, a lot of it is so serious, and it's really nice to see you just so comfortable with who you are, and get that fun side of you, as well as like getting to know the more serious side of you. And I think that our viewers are really going to enjoy your personality.
It's hilarious, like, because now I'm looking back at like, with the mindset of a grown adult, but I had just become an adult, so in my mind, I don't, 18-year-old are legal adults, but we're not adults. Like, it's just like we're still immature, like butt munches. It's like So what was the hilarious thing about it was like I had just graduated like 2 weeks beforehand. So I ended up going to, you know, school tours and high school tours. I literally just competed against a lot of the people I was talking to in like sports and competitions. And I'm like, hey guys, remember me? Like sort of a deal. Like it was hilarious too, because like I was in speech and drama, and one thing I did early in my speech and drama was I was a trained mime. So I was like, you probably don't recognize me without, you know, the weird white makeup and all that stuff. But yeah, that was me, and this is what my voice sounds like. But as for like actually being on the like only person on the spectrum, that actually didn't hit me until like a month before I went to nationals. I was just like, oh, like everyone's like, oh, you're making history. I was like, probably not. Like I'll be forgotten. I was like, whatever. Like,
but then you were voted America's Choice, and then you did really make history. So all that to be said, you really charted a path for other people with autism to see themselves in this organization. And Francesca and I are both title holders within Miss America. And that's why we were so excited to invite you on this show, this series, because maybe there's someone out there listening that thinks I could do that, maybe, but I don't know if it's ever been done before.
Oh, absolutely. If you are a woman, you can do this. It's just like, if you're a woman with drive, you can do this. Like it takes a lot of work to be in this, the whole thing. Like, and if you have the passion and you think you'll be great, just do it. Like there's no like harm in like do it. First off, it's trying something new, which I always advocate for. It's like, yeah, it's weird. Check it out. The whole thing is just like, you know, I hated pageants growing up. Next thing you know, I have a crown on my head and a sash, and I'm like, well, this is not where I thought life was gonna take me. But the whole thing was just like, I remember too, it was just like, you know, I did that like video for America's Choice where they could vote, and I was just like, I look back on that, I was like, that was so dang cringy. Like I was just like, I'm just like swinging on a swing, like my brother's holding the camera. Like we didn't have a professional crew. Like I looked at some of like the girls in my class, I was like, like who's directing this? Like this is incredible.
Hey, it worked.
I guess so. It's like everyone just kind of looked at it, was like, yeah, that looks like, you know, this is like something my cringy 8-year-old would do. Yeah, let's do. Like I
probably related and said, hey, that I could do that.
Yeah, 100%. Like that is what my life I want to be. It's just like someone looks at me like, yeah, I can do that. I can do what she's doing.
Well, you're real and you're authentic, and I think that appeals to the masses.
I appreciate that. That's the whole thing. Is like I think I was telling a story a lot of people had heard, but were too afraid to tell themselves. And the fact that you know, it's more people with autism, or at least like getting out there and doing stuff they love, whether it be Miss or you know, even the act of going to school. I never even thought I'd go to school. I never thought I'd graduate school. I thought I was going to live with my parents for the rest of my life and drop out, because, you know, in my mind I was like, oh, that's what disabled people do. Like it was just like I considered myself disabled. It wasn't I didn't have really any hope of moving forward. And then finally someone just gave me the validation I needed. And I was just like, oh my God. Like I remember that moment clearly. I was crying. I'm not going to talk about it because like, I don't know if the person involved wants to be named, but like, it was mind blowing to hear like, you know, you're not any less of a person because you have this. You're not dumb because you have this. You're not a lost cause because you have this. And what I heard that day kind of carried on with me through Miss America, and I hope that kind of went through that television screen of just like, nothing's wrong with me and there's nothing wrong with you. You know, any little girl out there who thinks that they're not worthy or they can't do this, I'm living proof that you can. And it's incredible. Like, and I always tell people like, I actually had someone come up to me like years later who was like trying to like diss me. It was like a really weird moment because like I didn't even like approach them. Just like, hey, you know, like because we're at a, like I continue with my public speaking. So like I'm not there. It's like, hey, you see, you're not wearing the crown. I was like, no, it's usually etiquette. Like once you pass on the title, you don't wear the crown, but I still have it. It's still in a case at home. Like it's all cool. Like I'm trying to strike up a conversation. So like, no, I see you're not wearing like the Miss America crown. You must have sucked to not win. I was like, nah, I guess that's for another little girl to do. Like another little autistic girl to do. And I was just like, what do you think you're first off, I was like, wow, your life is sad. But like at the same time, I was just like, yeah, I got to the position where I could win it, but I didn't. That's history for another person to make. And I hope to be there when it happens, to be like, yeah, like the screaming like a mad woman, just be like, blaze that trail, like sort of a deal.
I think that was a great clapback, and I would not have thought of something that clever on the spot.
It's just more of a sake of just like, what, how do you hope this conversation ends, sir? I'm like, it was just really like.
And the thing is, I think a lot of people underestimate how difficult it is to even compete at the national level, but it kind of minimized all of the talent and the skill and everything that you brought to the table, because you broke barriers, you crashed the glass ceiling. And I know that you serve as a role model, maybe not intentionally, but for a lot of young women who hope to become a state title holder and go on to Miss America, to represent a part of neurodiversity that is underrepresented. So you have done a lot for the community, and those little voices that can sometimes create doubt in your head between what they say and what they do, when you look at your list of accomplishments, those voices go away. And we're very thankful for the strides you've made for the autism community. But as you did mention that you do publicly still speak, and you mentioned previously about a couple of different organizations. So I'm wondering if you have continued some of your advocacy work after your time.
Absolutely. Like I continued on for years. Obviously it's come kind of to a standstill because of situations in the world right now. But I hoped like once things calm down, I can get back into it. We've offered on my website, we've offered like Zoom conferences and stuff like that. I hope to do this until like, the day I keel over, it might happen, like I get up there, I'm 80 years old and I pass out on the like stage, die with some honor, sort of a deal. But like I would love to do that. But right now I understand like it's not safe, like it'd be kind of stupid to do it right now. But I always am like open to talk. I need to get much better with my social media, is what this past crisis has taught me. But I think what really gets me about the whole Miss America experience was it was a very hard worked and strategic accident. And hopefully someone who knows what they're doing and is determined on like getting out there and knowing exactly what they're doing and everything like that. If I kind of fell into this, granted I worked hard, I'm not saying that was no effort. Gosh, I did that with my eyes closed. Like, no, I was working hard that entire time. I was like giving 110%, because then I realized like, yes, I have a crown on my head. Yes, I wear a sash. Yes, like I'm making history. But the thing is, I'm making history. This is no longer just about me anymore. This is about every little girl who felt the way I did growing up. Like, I can't be that girl wearing the crown. I can't be that girl. And, it's hilarious too, because like, my sisters and my mom loved watching, Miss America, Miss USA growing up. And my brother and my dad and I would hide in the basement with the dogs waiting for it to be over. But like the whole reason I first started like not liking it was just because I was like, I can't do that. That's something I can't do. And I later just ended up, more enjoying the stuff that my brother ended up, because he was like my best friend growing up. And of course, he's like, ew, pageants, like girly stuff, gross. And so I was like, yeah, totally. But it just kind of like, the whole reason I did it wasn't because like, oh, I realized I was wrong. I was totally into that stuff the whole time. No, like even now I'm just like, I don't, I don't really enjoy wearing makeup or dresses or anything like that. And the hard work I put into it was very much just adapting to that stuff. Like I am getting more in touch with my feminine side, but like even now, I'd rather just be sitting on the couch playing video games and playing Dungeons and Dragons. God, I could just tell you all about that and only that for like 5 hours.
Well,
but,
I think that's, oh, sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
it's more of a sake of just, the whole reason I did it was because like I was driving home from my mom from a doctor's appointment. And of course in Montana, the doctor's appointment's 3 hours away. So we've had plenty of time to talk. And she told me about like, hey, you know, you're going to school soon. And I was like, yeah, isn't that weird? Like, who would have thought that was happening? And she's like, well, we need to figure out scholarship opportunities. And I was like, what are you talking? And then like, it hit me. I was like, I am the 4th child to go to college. There's no money left for me. And like for a while, my parents weren't even sure I was going to college. So, and that's not against them. It was just like, I just had no drive. I had no, like, I was just really, really in a state of just like, there's no hope for me. What are you talking about? Like, so I was like, oh my God, I need money like yesterday, sort of a deal. And so like my mom starts naming off opportunities and stuff like that. And she very briefly mentioned Miss Montana because she's like, she's not gonna go for that. And literally like an hour later into the drive, I was like, I think I'll do Miss Montana. Like, she's like, she nearly swerved off the road. She was surprised. We were like nearly turned over in a burrow pit. We were just like, what? She's like, no, this is not how I've crashed the car. And like, this is just my consciousness continuing. Like, this is not what's happening. I was like, yeah, why not? We have all the stuff. Like, I can use my prom dress. I know my older sister Danielle had a swimsuit that didn't quite fit her, and maybe it'll fit me. Like, we can adjust it if not. Like, we have all this stuff. Like, I just need practice. And my mom's just like, that's like a month from now. Like, we don't have time. I was like, even better. Like, what better time than the present? Like,
yeah, well, that's so incredible, honestly, because I think it's probably because you were like, well, let's give it a shot, and I'm gonna be myself, and you know, my goal is to make top 8. And I think that is often, people compete in this organization for their entire life and they never achieve the state title, and you walk in after a month of preparation. Like, come on, Alexis, that's amazing.
Well, the thing is like, the whole thing was I planned on cheating the system a bit. My whole goal was to keep going every year and just racking up the scholarship money.
But hey, that works too. That's what it's there for. And what's so
exactly, that was my plan. I never planned to win.
Yeah,
I planned on like that year. I was like, I'm gonna see if I even like this to even do this like every single year. And thank God I did. But at the same time, I was like, wow, I really screwed up that plan in the best possible way.
Right. Well, it's so cool because now Miss America's kind of, you mentioned about you didn't like to always wear dresses or wear makeup, and that's not your preference to even do so even now. So it's so cool because Miss America is really shifting away from that. You have to be perfect. You have to be every hair in place.
Photo ready. I had an interview with Gretchen Carlson at 3:00 in the morning one day because of time zone differences, and I had to be photo ready. Everything was perfect. And meanwhile, I was just like, I'm so tired. Because like also at Miss America, like you have fixed time to eat. You have fixed time for media call. The problem was our year, media call was during meals. And so I hadn't really eaten much that week. And like my publicist at the time was like sneaking me sandwiches, like you know, contraband, and it was just like hilarious. And meanwhile, I was just like, I wasn't even on a diet that entire time for Miss America. I wasn't. I was just like, that's dumb. I'm not unhealthy. I'm not anything like that. I'm just gonna go as this, and if that's a problem, then there's a problem with Miss America. But like it was hilarious because a lot of other women were on diets at my year Miss America, and they ate more than I did that week because I was just like constantly being pulled, like, you have interviews here, you need to go over here. And I was just like, man, I never said this before in my life, and I don't stand by it normally, but having autism is a pain in the ass sometimes, because everyone wanted to talk to the first autistic Miss America contestant. I was like, can people forget about it so I can have a good meal?
Right. Well, I think that really speaks to whether you expected to be in that role or not, you were that figure of empowerment for the autism community. And as wonderful as that probably was, I'm sure it did add a lot of pressure. And then you didn't get to eat enough during Miss America week. Like I said, whether you were prepared for that role or not, you did end up empowering the autism community. And that kind of legacy does continue to go on. And you have inspired other people to see themselves in spaces that they typically wouldn't consider. So going off of that, what are some ways that you would encourage those who either are or are not on the spectrum to be involved in embracing and empowering people with autism?
It's very easy and it's very hard at the same time. It's just like, I want to be like, oh, just be yourself and everything will work out okay. I very much adopted like, be 80% yourself. Because first off, you don't know if the people you're talking to are worth 100% of you. And also, if you go in 100% immediately off the bat, that is very intimidating to a lot of people. And it may give them the wrong impression of just like, oh, this person doesn't have boundaries. This person doesn't have filters. And it's, especially in the autism community, that can be like, oh, be 100% yourself. I was like, well, we take things literally. Okay, we're gonna be 100% ourselves. And so like, I remember very clearly like telling people in high school, like, yeah, I go to therapy. And I'm like, people didn't ask to know that. People didn't need to know that, but I was being 100% myself. And it's very much like, I'm not saying be ashamed of who you are. Good God, no, I'm not saying that. It's just like, you don't know people. People don't know you. What would you want to hear from someone in order to keep that person engaged or in your life? And that's also for relationships as well. It's just like, I had a hard time filtering myself earlier. Like, I met a new friend yesterday because my friends are trying to, like, he just moved to town. They're trying to help him out and like meeting new people. I met a new guy. And, you know, I was getting excited. I was getting over like, oh my gosh. And I ended up telling him the whole time, like when I was in the hospital during Corona, I was like, I didn't have Corona, but I was like there. And I was like, he didn't need to know that. Like, that wasn't something he asked about. It was fine with it. But like, what if he wasn't? Like, that would have ruined that whole interaction, made things awkward for my friend. And no one would like that. That being said, I also think it's like, a lot of people think the only reason I got as much attention as I did in Miss America was because I have autism. And that's only partly true. The reason I got as far in Miss America as I did was because I put a lot of hard work in. And the thing is like, it took, from what I understand, what neurotypicals consider hard work, a lot of times people on the spectrum consider almost impossible work. And it's because, you know, things in neurotypical society do not come natural to people with autism. Anyone with neurological differences will find something that a neurotypical can do almost strange, weird, and almost alien. It's not wrong because, you know, society supports the way they did it, but like, they just have a hard time understanding it. So they can do it. It'll take them way more time maybe, and like ton more effort, but it's not impossible. It can be done. I'm proof of that. I was great. I actually had the largest school tour at that time of any Miss Montana, because I was just like, I gotta go. I gotta keep going. I gotta hit the iron while, like, I gotta strike the iron while it's hot. Like, I gotta keep going. You know, within 3 days, I had gone to 10 schools, and that wasn't fun afterwards, but I did it. It was hard though. It was difficult. And like, from what I understand, when I explained this to a miss before me, she's like, why on earth did you do that? Like, they acknowledged that would have been difficult. And they explained like their process for doing a school tour. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. I had to do this and 10 more steps in order to get prepared for that. Like I had so many meltdowns. Things were hard. I was getting on my mom's nerves because, you know, it was just so much all at once. And, you know, I don't blame my mom one bit for it. Because I didn't know how to drive at the time, and she had to drive me all over that state. But it's just like, don't let all of that discourage you from doing what you want. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to say it's going to be, oh man, it was so great. It was great. It was fun. I had a great time. Getting to it a lot of time wasn't. Like the process that's in between. And one thing very much I didn't realize at the time that I wish I had known was that what people saw of me was the highlight reel. It was not, you're not seeing the behind the scenes, the bloopers, the how it was made. You're not seeing that. And so you can't compare how my experience was. You can only see what the results were. And so I always say, don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel.
Well, I was going to actually explain exactly that. And I think that is so important to talk about, is the behind the scenes that goes behind all of the hard work that you do. And then we just see the finished product. And I think for anyone who's listening and thinking about competing or thinking about public speaking and advocacy work in general, listening to how many extra steps that they might have to take. And also just for the neurotypical community and population to understand that what they see on the surface is not exactly everything that's happening. And there's a lot of other things behind the scenes, like you said, just managing some of the extra breakdowns or the meltdowns and time scheduling and all of that goes into it that you had to do. You worked so much to create the legacy of Miss Montana. And so I really think that is a really great takeaway from this conversation, especially when it comes to encouraging that acceptance and of the two communities, the neurodiverse and the neurotypical. So as we're wrapping up our conversation today, we do have our rapid fire round, which is a fun segment for our audience to get to know you more. So you can just answer each question in a few words, but just think on the fly. What is your favorite app on your phone?
Instagram. It's the only social media I check. Everyone, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, Instagram